Hi, Beth.
Hi, Scott. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. Are you still in your trailer?
I am. Getting near the end.
Is it hot down
It is.
there?
For sure.
Hmm. Well, it's actually turning into a nice day here. The humidity is dropping.
Good.
Yeah,
Well, that's
tonight I
good.
think it's supposed to be like 40% or I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the humidity that wears you down. That and when it doesn't cool down at night.
Yep. Yep. Do you have air conditioning in your trailer?
It's key. I almost didn't get it. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like growing up in New England. It's like, we don't need air conditioning. And
Right.
that's getting to be more and more untrue as time goes on.
I think as we get older, we get a little more sensitive to it.
I think you're right.
But I think also New England's just getting more. I feel like the summer's been more humid and kind of gross, and you want your air conditioning.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of yucky. My dog is freaking out. She does not like humidity.
Yeah, it's everything. It's seems like it's getting hotter and hotter, more extreme weather too. Just the rain and all of that. Just how hard it rains now.
Yeah, we've had a few good storms during July, a few good ones. But then at
Oh,
the same time, it's been so hot during the day. We're like teetering on that drought question, sort of, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. I see Bob. Hi, Bob. And Jan is here, and Carrie, and is Doc here?
I
Doc.
don't see him. I know he responded to the email asking him to be present.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, we're gonna open the meeting. Hopefully he'll join and he can
I am
learn you know, what things are going.
okay.
Todd is there. All right, I'm gonna open the meeting. It's 7 o'clock on July 25th. I'm calling this meeting of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission to order. This meeting will be recorded. And so I guess we'll hold off. I wanted to sort of introduce our new land use clerk. So Carrie Marshall, and I see some other faces on here. I see Todd, who's interested in the commission. I see Mark Stinson, who is from Western Mass DEP, who we deal with a lot. He does the reviews of all of our applications for us. So he's here to just kind of meet you guys. Just so you know, Carrie Marshall is sort of our outgoing land use clerk. She's got a new job opportunity that she's heading off to. So we've hired a new land use clerk, but he was supposed to come tonight, but I don't see him on the call yet. So hopefully he's going to join. But I'm going to have him introduce himself and talk about his hours and just so we can get to know him a little bit. But while we're doing introductions, Mark, would you like to just say hi to everybody? So our members are Scott Kahn, Bob Douglas, and Jan Rowan. We have a vacancy right now. And actually we have two people at the meeting right now who have expressed interest on being on the commission, both Todd, how do you say your last name, Todd?
It's teaching.
Todd Teachin, and Tom Seifert are both. So Mark, you get to meet the whole crew.
Hi, folks. So I've been doing this job for 20 years, and I have a pretty good historical knowledge of basically all the projects that have been going on in Shutesbury for the last 20 years, because I've reviewed most of the projects. So, I mean, Beth, she's been around a while, but I mean, for a long time, there was significant continuity. Then, of course, recently has been a turnover. So it's good meeting new people. I'm available. Beth can send you my contact information, email and phone number. My job is to provide technical and regulatory assistance to all my towns. I deal with 106 towns out here. All 4 western counties, as well as 5 towns in Worcester County. So it's not, I do all the notice of intent reviews, all the paperwork, a lot of paperwork. But I also answer questions from commissioners or applicants or consultants. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. I should be able to answer them. I very rarely get stumped. So nice meeting you all.
And Mark is a source, a major source of any kind of information having to do with the wetland world. Bob, you have a question?
Yeah, forgive me. Is it okay if I ask Mark a question?
Sure.
Mark, hey, I've got two quick questions for you. I know that some DEP regional folks offer education for individual commissions. Is that something that that you do in this region?
Sure, I've done it. I've been doing workshops for a long time. I've done other workshops in Shutesbury before for other, previous commissioners. I usually like to invite surrounding towns to attend, so I get more bang for the buck that way. But sure, I can do something. We'll meet in town hall. You got the big room downstairs that plenty big enough to do a workshop down there.
Well, I think we're all really addicted to being online, but um,
But you're gonna learn more if you're in person, trust me.
okay, fair enough. And what's the nature of those workshops, Mark? What do other commissions or what do commissions generally like to?
Well,
like-
usually when I have a whole bunch of new people, it's the basics, Wetlands Protection Act basics. That's what everybody needs. Even people who've been on commissions for 20 years, they forget things. Especially Shutesbury, you don't have as many projects. I forget what file number you up to. But like Pittsfield, I just issued a file number 1256. Amherst is up to 800 some odd. You guys are still in the low, what?
We're
200?
306 or something.
Yeah,
was our last
so
one? Three-
you don't see that, you don't have enough constant applications. And you get used to things around the lake, septic system replacements, and you forget the rest of it because you don't typically deal with it. So I like sticking with the basics. It's about an hour and a half presentation, and it's pretty good. I tweak it, update it all the time, so it is current. So yeah, I'd rather stick with just Wetlands Protection Act basics. You don't need to know stormwater for the most part. You don't need to know uh, not much about floodplain because you don't get into it much. So yeah, Wetlands Protection Act basics.
Great.
Yeah, we
And if I may, Madam Chair, just have one other quick question. Mark, I know that some commissions do conditions on RDAs and some don't.
Right.
I was wondering if you knew what percentage of towns do condition RDAs and what do not.
It's usually lem- one thing first, when you write an order of conditions, you have the legal ability to go on the property after the order is issued to inspect. You do not have that on a determination. So one of the special conditions you should always include is the commission reserves the right to go on the property to inspect the work. I just want to throw that out there. So typically,
Mm.
the commissions that have file numbers over, say, 300, where they have experience, they typically do add special conditions to their determinations. The commissions that might get one request for determination every 2 or 3 months, They often don't because they don't remember, they don't have the skill set to do that. They just don't have the experience. So I usually spend 2 or 3 nights a week out there. You know, I have 106 towns. It takes me years to get to everybody. And I bring that knowledge, but sometimes by the time I have a time to go back to that town, it's a brand new turnover. So I do the best I can, commissions do the best I can. But again, when you have a stable commission, and they're more experienced than the small towns, they usually add on the conditions. I mean, I still have several towns out here who are the file numbers are in the teens. So New Ashford, Monroe, there's 1 or 2 others. Hawley even is in the 20s, I think. Wendell hasn't had that much. New Salem isn't up that much. You guys are busy because you got the lake. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we're on, our last one was number 306.
Yeah.
That's not- Well, we'll definitely try and organize a training like that with you. I think we all could.
September would be pretty good. You know, Beth,
September.
you and I can work on a date. You know, I just need a projector for the room downstairs, town hall,
Mhm.
you know.
Okay, great. That sounds great.
Great, thank you.
Anybody have any other questions for Mark? I think he's just here to see how we're doing.
Press the flesh, sort
Yeah.
of.
Well, first thing on our agenda is minutes. We've got minutes for 3 different days, June 26th, July 11th, and July 18th. Carrie?
I unfortunately was unable to send the 6/26, I think I listed.
Okay,
So it's just the 2 from Janice.
okay. Speaking of minutes, if Doc is not here, who's taking tonight's minutes? Because he was supposed to. Becky told me he was going to.
I did send out an email to him to see if he was having any trouble, so I'm hoping he does end up coming. I'm just unsure.
Okay. Carrie, do you mind just, taking down some notes right now? I know we have the Zoom, so people can always do minutes by watching the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm assuming it's probably fairly short tonight, so.
Yeah, it should be short anyway, but somebody could do it. Okay, so then we have July 11th and July 18th minutes available. Has everybody had a chance to go through the minutes? Yep. Any comments or changes to either set of minutes? No. Okay. And we need a motion to approve. First, we'll do the July 11th minutes.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the July 11th minutes.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Great. Con,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye,
Rowan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. And now we'll do the July 18th minutes.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the July 18th minutes.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All right, Rowan,
Aye.
and Douglas,
Aye,
and Con,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. All right, great. Our 7:15 hearing got canceled because they weren't ready. They didn't submit their butter notification, but also their application wasn't quite ready. So we're not doing that tonight, and I'm thinking I'd like to move it to the 8th of August. But the next big question is that I'm going to be on vacation that week. So I'm wondering if there's anybody that would be willing to run the meeting on August 8th, or if we should just, either reschedule it for a different night, possibly like the next week. Then we'd have sort of back-to-back meetings because we'll have a meeting on we'll keep our schedule with our meeting on the 22nd of August. But we could just move the meeting for the 8th to keep it on Thursdays. We could do it on the 15th and have two meetings back to back. Or if somebody's willing to run the meeting on the 8th, you know, more power to you. Any
Just
volunteers?
for continuity's sake, Beth, it would be my preference to kind of move it to the 15th if we might be able to get our new commissioner on board by that point, and I think that might be a good move.
Okay, that's fine with me. I think I may have let Jake Mitchell, who's at 678 Pratt Corner, I may have just said to him that we are going to move it to the 8th, but I can talk to him about moving it to the 15th since his application really wasn't ready anyway.
Yeah, Beth, the last notice of intent I have is that 70 Lake Drive. This is a new notice?
This is it's an RDA.
Oh, RDA, okay.
Yeah, it's 678 Pratt Corner Road.
Oh, okay.
Did you get it?
It rings a bell. That's right. You have a butter notification under your bylaw?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. Carrie had her hand. Carrie, do you know if we got the fee from him?
I am unsure. So when he emailed with his application, I did also see that he got a butters list. I told him that I received it digitally. I asked him if he could confirm with me that he submitted 2 hard copies and the fee to town hall because I am working from home technically until doc starts. So I was just looking for a confirmation from him. And then I explained to him that I would put together a legal ad and have it posted. And I sent him a draft of the butter notices that he would have to send out. And then I didn't hear anything from him. I don't think I've heard with him since. I did try to follow up 1 or 2 times and I still didn't hear anything. And that's when I called you on Tuesday.
Yeah, I ended up calling him. I think somebody from his office called me back, but then he texted me that he was on vacation and he just said, I didn't get the abutter notification out. So I feel like there's a few missing pieces there. So we need to just move it to the 15th probably.
Did he say
Yeah,
when he was
yeah.
coming back from vacation?
He's back now, yeah. And he didn't even want to do the site visit today. That was the other thing. We were gonna do the site visit today and I said, can we at least do that part, get it done? And he didn't want to do that either. So we'll see where it goes.
What was the address on Spruce or Pratt Corner?
678.
Yeah, I don't see we received it.
Okay. All right. So moving on, I think at this point I might want, we had a vacancy for a while and we've had some interest from few different people for the commission. So 2 of them are here tonight. And since they're both here, I'm thinking maybe they could introduce themselves and tell us about why they want to be on the commission. Tom, I think, has already spoke to us about that before, but why don't we just have both of them introduce themselves? Todd, do you want to start?
Hi, everyone. I'm Todd Teachin. I have been living in Shutesbury for 7 years. I live on Great Pines Drive, near Jan. I know Jan. I also know Bob just by sight. I see him around once in a while. I'm interested in doing service for the town, and I've been looking into various committees, and I thought this one sounded really interesting. I am very committed to wetlands conservation. I am currently a professor of English actually at UMass Lowell. I've been at UMass Lowell since 2011. And I teach classes in environmentalism and literature and environmental writers. So I've been very interested in ecology and environmentalism from uh, an academic standpoint, but I'm looking to do sort of more hands-on stuff, and I would like to learn more about wetlands preservation and yeah, I mean, I guess that's my interest. I think that, you know, I mean, I have a lot of background obviously in writing and in education, and I think I could contribute from in terms of like the educational mission of the commission. And I know that you're in the process of writing bylaws. I think that I would have a lot to add to that too. Plus just, you know, I have a lot of energy for the I have a lot of energy for wetlands conservation and ecological issues. And yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
So do you go to Lowell? Do you live here, but you teach in Lowell? Do you go back and forth, or do you do mostly
I do,
virtual?
but yeah, I'm a full tenured professor. I'm only on campus a couple days a week, really,
Mm.
sometimes 3 days a week. And obviously I in the summers I'm off. So and over holiday, you know, the end of the year holidays I'm off. So it really ends up only being 8 months of commuting, and it's only 2 or 3 days a week. So it's not that
Mm.
bad.
It's not that bad.
No.
So you'd be here, for site visits and meetings
Oh
and all
yeah,
that.
yeah. I would be able to do all of that. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you for your interest. I
You're
think that
quite welcome.
I love it. I love having people interested.
Yeah. Any other
Um,
questions?
anybody else have any questions for Todd? No?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
You're quite welcome.
Tom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks, Beth. How you doing? Good evening, everybody. Everybody can hear me, right? Super.
Mhm.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm actually a little caught by surprise. I didn't know this was going to be part of the meeting tonight. So I'm really glad I attended. um, and I will say, like, along with the surprise, it's such an interesting story to hear from Todd, and like really gladdening that there are like a couple of people and who are interested. And part of the surprise was just some of the uncanny overlaps. So it's exciting to see that I think two very interested people with such similar backgrounds in some way might be able to offer here. So I think it's just a great situation to be in. I've also been here 7 years, and I had been a professor of a language. It was German, but at UMass, but I no longer do that. Congratulations, Todd, on tenure. I I was more of a teaching faculty member where tenure doesn't usually come into play. Now I work as a tutor with a place called the Literacy Volunteers of Orange and Athol. We do adult literacy or English as a second language for newcomers to America. And I live also right beside the lake on South Laurel Drive. The lake, but not just the lake, all of Shutesbury's nature really drew me in once I started living here in 2017. And back then, I would not have known to even word them as wetlands or um, auras and other things. So I really learned a lot over the last couple of years by also kind of attending and being interested in the Conservation Commission work about how to define and sort of discuss with goals and regulations of the land and the forest and the wetlands we have. So it's been very exciting for me for that. I hope I could contribute in similar ways to what Todd said, with writing and a good eye for detail, also with a strong education background. So I'm just very excited tonight to see another candidate who I think also sounds great, and also want to continue to express my own interest. Thanks for letting me speak. I hope I didn't speak too long.
Oh, great. Thanks, Tom. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to have two people, and I think I'll reach out to Becky and find out about the process, because I think that it's time. We took a little break. We had so many things going on, new bylaw, new regulations, turnover of a whole lot of people. We kind of left that vacancy go for a little bit, but I think maybe it is time to make a new appointment to the committee. So I'll reach out to Becky. Becky is the town administrator, Becky Torres. Tom?
I forgot to mention, it's probably important, because I think it's significant. From what I gather, Todd is not in a role yet in town government. And correct me if I'm wrong, please, Todd. I don't know that. But I'm glad now to be able to say I'm an associate member on the planning board. And I was recently appointed to the task force studying the stormwater runoff and the erosion. So I think that's important, perhaps, in all of the consideration that's going on, or I would imagine it could be. And I forgot to mention that. I already have a lot of involvement that I'm really glad to have. That might be.
Yeah, you got, that's
probably
two
worth
appointments.
noting. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, that is worth noting. Yeah, so you're on the planning board and on that stormwater task force. That's what you said?
Yeah, and I applied, but we don't know yet. It's kind of, I think it's a big pool of candidates for the, I'll call it the boating bylaw, the watercraft and personal use of the lake bylaw.
Oh, okay.
That committee is going to be appointed within a week or two. So anyhow, I think that for me, that's just important information to consider.
Yeah, no, that is
Spreading
important.
out.
That is important. I suppose you know a little bit about that stormwater task force. They're gonna have public meetings, right? But I'm just thinking that
We've had one, and the next one is, I believe, August 15th. Tends to overlap, unfortunately, with the Concom meetings, because the last one I think was on the same date as a Concom meeting.
yeah.
But yeah, that will be the second meeting. I think it's going to shoot for at least once a month, if not every 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. I feel like maybe one of us can be somebody who might regularly try to attend those. But you're right, there is going to be some overlap where they're at the same night. So
yeah.
Okay, well, great. Thanks to both of you for being interested and for talking a little bit about yourselves tonight. That's great. And I'll reach out to Becky and we'll get something moving. Okay, I think we should jump down to number 5, which is because we're sort of scheduling things. That's site visits and scheduling. What I have on the books is August 1st, we're doing a site visit to 30 Sumner Mountain Road. I think everybody who can is going to that one, right? 4:30. August
Sumner Mountain
1st.
Road is in Amherst too, just like the one we didn't do today. Is that another one of those you go out to come in?
What was that? I think you need to turn up I can't, the volume. I
My
couldn't
volume
quite
down.
hear you.
Sumner Mountain Road is on the edge of Amherst too? Yes?
Yeah, it's off of January Hills Road.
It also shows Amherst when you look it up.
There we go. Yes. Yeah, that whole area.
Okay.
I think they have the Amherst zip code.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our next site visit that I have scheduled.
I apologize, Beth. Could you just recite that address again, just so I can enter in my calendar?
30 Sumner Mountain Road.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Do we know what time that was? 4:15?
4:30.
4:30.
Yeah. And then, Jan, I don't know if you saw, there was an email from the Ames Pond people from Kestrel Land Trust that came today. I'm assuming it went to everybody. They want to schedule sort of a site visit. They're done with their project. So they wanted to coordinate a site visit to just look at the project, I guess, see if they can get rid of their erosion control. So if you wouldn't mind reaching out and trying to set that up with them and with all of us. And then also, if you wouldn't mind, that you said you would do site visits, we need to reschedule 678 Pratt Corner Road with Jake Mitchell. And I can send you his contact info. So both of those we should set up. And then, and I was thinking of doing Jake Mitchell's the day that of his meeting, or whatever meeting he gets on. So it sounds like that's going to be on the 15th.
Do we need a little extra time for Kestrel if we're taking that walk?
Yeah, that one might just have to be on its own in an afternoon.
On a weekday?
I prefer weekdays. I like afternoons of weekdays, anytime after 3:45. And I know for Scott and Bob, it's more difficult. So just see what you can schedule and throw out an email to everybody, and we'll just see who can come and who can't come.
Okay.
And I'm still working with Penny on trying to set up a date to go to the top of the lake conservation area. I'm on vacation, then Scott's away, and then Penny's got weekends that she can't do. So I think that may end up being the week of, what was I thinking? The week of August 19th, so a couple weeks away, because that will be a longer site visit too. Just going to kind of do it on its own one of the days and make sure everybody can come. So I'll work on that one with Penny. I think that's all we have for scheduling. But I'll send emails about everything too. Especially, I guess we're gonna move our meeting to the 15th, so I'll send that. So, anybody have any questions about that kind of stuff? No? Okay, so we can move on to the regulations. I'll share my screen. So we're gonna look at, what are we looking at? Article 3.
All right, I'm gonna sign off for that. I
Oh,
don't need,
I can't believe it.
all right, good meeting you all, and we'll get together sometime.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey,
Okay.
thank you, Mark.
Bye.
All right. Can everybody see my screen? Yep. Okay. All right, here we are at Article 3, general provisions. Did you guys get a chance to look through it? Okay. All right. What did I think of this? I thought burden of proof was great because it's right out of the bylaw. Hardship waivers. I also thought I'm fine with that section. What do you guys think? Just raise your hand or say something if you have comments.
I was good with that.
Oh, Jan raised her hand. Jan?
Good with that. I have, again, I'm always trying to clarify stuff, so I make sure I understand what we're up to.
Mhm.
This seems fine. And from what, little experience I have, we looked at, for example, 14 Lake Drive, where they were allowed to continue with the drain pipe. There was no waiver involved there because that wasn't, is this correct? Because that wasn't something they were creating? Their
Yeah,
project didn't
and
create that.
it also happened during construction under an existing permit. So it was a little more confusing, I think. Waivers would be used if somebody came to us with a proposed project where they just felt like their project couldn't fit under the regulations. Basically the regulations are saying that whatever they were proposing just couldn't be done, or we'd be requiring like a huge amount of mitigation. That's when you really can ask for a waiver. Or if, you're just, there's such a, what's the word, number 214, the overriding public interest, restricts the use of the property, like there's something about a project that makes it just unable to sort of fit into the regulations, then people can use a waiver even before applying. I feel like that 14 Lake Drive, they had an application, they had a whole permit, and then they started construction and something happened and we had to sort of figure it out mid-permit. So I don't think I would have asked them to like submit a waiver. I think instead we just had to kind of figure it out. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Beth, what would be an example of a self-imposed hardship?
That's new language that Miriam added since the version that was approved. And that is a really good question. A self-imposed hardship finds that in writing that the hardship is not self-imposed.
I've seen it before with zoning, say, you can only build so big a house on a lot, and you want the house to be, double the size that's allowed, and that would be a self-imposed hardship. It doesn't fit because you made it too big. I don't know if, well, maybe that would be the case here, that somebody wanted to put something closer to the water than would be allowed under our bylaw. Maybe that would be a self-imposed hardship. And I'm just trying to answer that question.
Yeah, no, I get that you're asking it, and I understand how that would fit with the zoning, that they just decided to make a house that was even bigger. So with wetlands, I don't know. So maybe we take it out because it is new. It was not in the original regulations that got approved in October. I don't know if Miriam just saw it in another document and thought it sounded good.
I guess I'm a little afraid to take it out because there might be something that comes up like, oh, so.
Yeah, I can look into it. I can find
Okay.
out where it came from and what other towns, if they're using it, what it means exactly. Like how it would apply to wetland stuff. Because it does seem kind of strange. Okay. So that's hardship waivers. Oh, there was one that I thought the writing, the language was odd. This number 232. A description of all reasonable options considered as described below, and I didn't see what below is referred to. That includes a description of alternatives to the applicant's proposal that the applicant considered and that would avoid a minimum. I thought of changing it to just a description of all reasonable options considered that would avoid or minimize the necessity of the requested relief, along with the reasons why such alternatives were deemed to be unreasonable. Because I couldn't even follow what this meant. So I thought maybe it was something that got left in there by accident or something. This thing gonna let me edit. Huh. So if I take out. I was thinking of taking this out. Nah, it won't let me edit. Anyway, that was the only thing that I saw.
We just moved on, but I think you should go ahead and do that edit.
Yeah, I can't. I've got it in my hard copy here that I'm looking at.
Okay.
Because I can't edit this. Won't let me edit it.
Okay, as long as you know.
Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, what would be edited? Like the first half or the second half?
It's gonna take out that. So it'd be a description of all reasonable options considered that would avoid or minimize the necessity of the requested relief, along with the reasons why such alternatives were deemed to be unreasonable.
Yeah, I think that's completely clear and cogent. So yeah, I would support that edit.
Okay. Great. All right, 3, consideration of reasonable options. I thought that was okay. Yeah. Makes sense to me. I don't know if you guys are looking at the older version that is approved, like our current regulations. But she did remove a section called no unacceptable significant or cumulative effects, which I'm assuming that she moved it to a different area. I can't imagine Miriam taking something out. But I did note that that was gone. So we'll just have to see if later in the document there's a section on cumulative effects. I'm assuming she probably just moved it somewhere else. So then these two here, the herbicides and the presumption of significance. Again, I'm fine with those.
The herbicide, and she's just, I don't, is it necessary to incorporate other regulations in our regulations? I mean, I'm just wondering at what point to.
It's a good question because I mean we have to administer the state regulations anyway, so it already exists.
I'm just thinking to simplify it. If we're talking about our bylaw, I don't know that our bylaw needs to restate the state regs. And it's only restating it for this, but not other things.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Because really the regulations and the bylaw, they can just state in the beginning that, you know, that we are administering the state regs, but then in general, they're supposed to sort of list things that are different from the state regs that the town is including as something that we're gonna regulate. And this is funny that you're right, all it says is.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest deleting it only from the standpoint that if it is a little confusing because we're incorporating a presumption, and a presumption is not really a reg, and that's already a reg. And so unless we're trying to say something different from the state law, I think it's actually kind of confusing.
I agree. I think so too. There's other spots in the regulations that basically say we follow what's in the regs, but I think in some of those spots it makes a little more sense. In here, it's kind of silly. Okay. Are Bob and Jan, are you all right with removing number 4?
Yes,
Bob
definitely.
says no.
Yes.
Okay, great. Number 5, presumption of significance. Each resource area subdivision presumed to be significant to one or more of the. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm just on that one. I just had I wasn't. I just didn't really know what it meant. I mean, it's just saying that it's. My lay speak would be that we're saying that the resource areas are presumed to be, you know, significant to the values in the bylaw. We had that discussion around the whole, do we need to restate what's in the bylaw in our regs? And again, I'm just not sure, if this is a regulation, I'm not really sure what it's saying.
Yeah. I kind of wonder how much it's repeating Article 1 that we went through last time, where we actually listed the values and then we listed the resource areas. And I don't want to have to go back with my document because I'll have to scroll all the way through it, but I'm thinking that somewhere there in Article 1, it probably says, you know, these are the jurisdictional areas that are significant, you know, that have the values that are significant to the act and to our bylaw. So I agree. I think this seems a little possibly redundant to Article 1 and kind of strange to be in here. I'm willing to take it out if others are willing to take it out.
Take it out.
Take it out. All right, you guys are easy. Well, now we get to a section where there's a bunch that I'd like to take out. Stormwater management is important, but I don't feel like it needs a preamble.
Yeah, I had the same path on that.
You know, in the state regs and other places, I've seen where you got, and again, in the back of this is you're listing the resource areas and you have a preamble for the resource areas because you're kind of talking about why we're protecting them. The stormwater management is not a resource area. It's something we certainly regulate and look at, but it doesn't necessarily need this whole introduction of why it's important, you know? I guess that's my thought. And I've just never seen that in other regulations. And, you know, I think we start, if it was me, you know, what I think is where you'd have a section here called stormwater. And it would start with right here, with 621, with, the commission requires applicants to demonstrate that no significant change on it. It just basically starts talking about what we want the applicants to do in terms of stormwater and what we need to require of them and what we need to evaluate in their application. But this whole sort of discussion about why it's important, I just don't find important. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Bob?
Great, I didn't make notes on this one. I'm just. And I apologize, your proposal for this section was?
To get rid of the preamble section that just talks about why stormwater is important and start right here where she's got them as performance standards, but I would just have a stormwater section. I wouldn't even call it performance standards. I would just start with the section. This would just be the beginning of the stormwater section, saying the commission requires applicants to demonstrate no significant change, and then it kind of goes through that we adopt the DEP stormwater management policy and the stormwater management standards. Or is there considered critical areas?
Is there any disadvantage to keeping the preamble?
Is there any what disadvantage?
Yes.
I mean, I can't imagine anybody saying, please just describe the importance of stormwater, stormwater management. To me, it's more like
When you've got the actual regulations that describe how how it will all be managed. Yeah, I totally get that. The only time I can think of that it's sometimes helpful to have the preamble is like if you're like in a legal case, then you can kind of like pull from that the town of Shutesbury believes, and then you kind of quote from the preamble. But that's just a thought on my end.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Well, except in the performance standards, it pretty much says the same stuff when it's laying out the expectation for what should be done.
I think you're right.
So yeah, so you feel it's repetitive. I get that. I could go either way on it.
Proper stormwater management includes evaluation of the quantity, quality, rate, and pattern of stormwater runoff that may enter a resource area. And then, down below, it's like, we require you to evaluate the quantity, quality, rate. Well, it doesn't exactly say that, but.
Of course, my angst comes from the fact that we want them to have a post-project hydrologic budget that's equal to or better than the pre-project in a time of climate change, when in the very beginning of this call, we were talking about how it rains more, and it's kind of hard to predict, but that's that climate change thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'll just mark down that we are considering getting rid of the preamble. And then we can look at what we have for performance standards. I think I was mostly okay with this. Oops.
On this part, Beth, where you are right now, the
Mhm.
6.2.2.6, that yellow part, I had the notes, I think something about a waiver. And
Something about what?
in the document that I show, it's like a waiver. There's a note from Miriam saying it's a waiver provision.
It's a violation of feature impacts.
The last line.
That's really,
You waive this provision.
I don't know. I read that section like 5 times. I'm trying to.
All stormwater management systems shall be designed and constructed to adequately control, contain, and recharge flows from this river is designed to decrease the likelihood of downstream and off-site flooding, as well as contribute to groundwater recharge.
So it's really talking about how they retain stormwater. And we're saying the request for waiver shall include credible evidence that retaining it is not needed. I guess it's that last part, and would cause irreparable harm to downstream or offsite areas.
Yes. So it's a waiver. There's a provision that we can waive the requirement of being able to store all that water on site. If somebody, they'd have to sort of apply or bring forward this waive request, and they would have to show that that it's not needed to store it on site.
The way I was reading it was, it's not needed and would not cause irreparable harm. Or maybe I'm just reading it wrong. I think I'm understanding what they're trying to say. I'm just.
Yeah.
No,
that's what I'm wondering too, if that should say and would not cause irreparable harm to downstream or offsite areas. Then that shows that retaining the volume on site. Well, but for some reason it's saying a waiver if storing it on site for some reason causes adverse impact to downstream resources due to placement in the watershed or timing of release of stormwater. I guess they're saying that if they store it on site, contain it all on site, it actually would cause like a drought effect downstream.
Oh, but that seems like a weird thing for stormwater.
It does very much, right? Decrease the likelihood of downstream offsite flooding. If a volume shows that retaining this volume will cause adverse impacts to downstream resources, Commission may waive the provision. So there may be some weird situation where a project proposes to do stormwater management that in the end would actually impact things negatively downstream, then we can waive the provision if somebody can show that that's the case.
I think if you put in a really huge cistern and reduced infiltration, maybe that's kind of an instance.
Yeah, you put in something that but it'd be odd because it would seem like your modeling and everything should create some kind of stormwater management design that's not meant to harm things downstream. You know, why build something that's gonna harm things downstream? It's weird to me.
Yeah, most stormwater mitigation that I see are all designed to hold water in place to allow for infiltration and avoid, overburdening the system during the time of an event and harming folks downstream. And so that's how I was reading this. But it kind of made it look like we could waive it, and you could discharge it, or in this case, for holding it in place, you would have to show that holding it would not cause irreparable harm to downstream. And I was always thinking of it in the reverse in terms of discharging it too quickly and impacting people downstream. I just must be reading it wrong.
Yeah, I know it's a strange thing. Because right, you could just think of a waiver that somebody would propose saying that there's really no need to build that kind of stormwater because there would be no effect downstream. But that's not what it's saying. It's saying this other thing, which is weird.
To me, it's I would have worded it that we would be doing the modeling. I think it's actually kind of the way it's written, but it would not cause irreparable harm.
Yeah, I agree. Let me just see something. What's wrong? I think I'm just gonna note that, and again, maybe even find out sort of from Miriam where she got it and what it's supposed to be saying. Because it's a whole new section that was not in our existing regulations.
Yeah, there's another part of the same sentence up above where it says, it shows that retaining this volume of storm water on site will cause an adverse impact to downstream resources due to the placement. And I always think of it in the reverse, but I'm guessing you're both thinking the same thing, that maybe this has to do with some sort of new stormwater management feature, and then they're worried about how the discharge from that could impact, like if we just, it's a dam or something else, and then you just open it up and flood people. But I don't know, it seems like kind of an odd, I don't really consider that stormwater.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there, when it comes to stormwater though, in wetlands, I'm also thinking about this from our own jurisdictional piece. And so I'm also not really sure. This seems to be getting into other things in terms of how you're permitting like flood storage. And I'm not really sure that's in our, in our lane, as it were. I think I'm not, this could have a nexus to wetlands, and it could have a nexus to riverfront, depending on where it is. but it's not really speaking to the placement of stormwater features and the impacts on wetlands. It's really talking about the modeling and how the stormwater discharge would impact downstream landowners. And that was my other general comment about it is, you know, I'm just kind of wondering if it's even really relevant to our bylaw or the Protection Act.
Mm-hmm. I can check that. I want to say, I think it is, there's references some in the state regs a bit, and then I'm wondering, I have to look in the bylaw too, that very thing of, you know, an applicant has to be able to show that they're, through their stormwater modeling, that they're not going to impact downstream properties. That's often included as something in wetlands regulations, because we are looking at stormwater anyway, and it's just a good thing to be requiring applicants to be including in their modeling, you know. Because over the years it wasn't included. You know, when I first started in Amherst, that was not in regulations and stuff, and there were so many issues where neighbors would say, that house was built over there, and now I have a huge drainage problem in my yard. Why was that construction of that house permitted, you know? And I'd be like, well, they met the wetlands regulations, they met everything they were supposed to, because there wasn't anything included about downstream sort of impacts. So that is something that people look at nowadays.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that it is, and maybe the presumption is for this section that it falls within the aura. It just doesn't really say that anywhere. It says it later in the next section.
You mean the footing, where the footing drains?
Yes, that one talks about,
All footing drains and stormwater outfalls must be at a minimum outside the 50-foot inner aura and must be shown in all plans. Yep.
so that one's making reference to the aura. The other one is, I mean, you could have lots of projects for stormwater that are not jurisdictional, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I guess my specific recommendation would be maybe I think it's good to run that to ground with Miriam, see if it really should be not irreparable harm to downstream. And if we decide to keep it, I think it needs some sort of tie to, you know, where the stormwater management systems are being designed in the aura, or that we would be doing that work.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think, I mean, these are just kind of typical general requirements of stormwater management systems that are installed for a project, and, you know, the overall project itself may be partly in a resource area, or might, like, if you look at the library that we just did, those stormwater management systems, I might get this wrong, but I feel like maybe a small, tiny percentage of them were actually, what were they? Did they? Ugh, I cannot remember. That's
I
bad.
think they're part of them were in
Were they all in the aura or were they?
They were
there
in
was-
the aura, but they weren't in the inner 50 feet, I don't think.
Yeah, right. But
So
even though
would be
that, but even though, like even ignoring where they're actually located, the design of that system had to meet these kind of requirements. And it has to meet these kind of requirements even under state regulation. You have to, for any project that qualifies for submitting a notice of intent, because any part of the project, the driveway, the building is either in a resource area or within the buffer zone. And say that system is a larger building like a library, and it qualifies for meeting the Massachusetts stormwater standards. Whatever the stormwater management system that's designed has to meet requirements for water quality treatment and also water quantity, basically. So the volumes that it's recharging and that it's allowing to go off site. So it's not necessarily where the stormwater systems are located, it's more the overall project,
Yeah,
right?
well, that makes sense to me, Beth. I think where I'm struggling is I understand there are regulations that affect stormwater in the Commonwealth. I think where I'm struggling is for under the Shutesbury, our wetland protection bylaw, where we're enumerating additional regulations that are presumably not just restating the storm water regulations of the Commonwealth, but something particular to the bylaw. I would think it would have to be more specific to addressing impacts in a resource area. And that's where I didn't see this. So let's take those drain, like a stormwater feature outside of a resource area. I would think that they would have to follow the state regs for stormwater, but I wouldn't think that we would need, there wouldn't be separate regulations for that under our regulations here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we go in this section, we don't really go beyond, too much beyond the state regulations.
That,
And I'm confused by this what she's
Yeah.
added. I don't really know what it's saying, so I need to check with her.
well, and if
Yeah.
it's just repeating the state reg, then I would wonder if it needs to be in here at all.
Mhm.
But it doesn't really reference the state reg.
No, I think, where's that? That's 622, commission adopts the stormwater management policy and all 10 stormwater management standards and CM blah, blah, blah. All stormwater management systems shall comply with Mass DEP stormwater handbook. That's really what everyone goes to. And then this is something new. This is just us, that all ores shall be considered critical areas, which affects the water quality treatment of stormwater management on the site a little bit.
So maybe you're reading it, these are building, and the presumption is that section that we had just gotten done looking at pertains just to the auras. But to me, it wasn't clear.
Yeah,
So if it does, I'm okay. And if we get the clarification from Miriam, I'm okay keeping it. I just think it's written a little broadly where it says all stormwater management systems. And it goes on to explain it as our reg under the wetland, bylaw.
mhm. Okay. We'll look into that one some more.
Beating that stormwater horse to death. But I think this one, I do, from my own experience on the board, I think there tends to be every site visit having to deal with stormwater, and it is an issue, but we end up chasing. Usually it starts with something draining into the lake, and then we're all the way up the hill chasing, everything throughout the watershed. And some of them are in resource areas and some of them aren't. And I think if we're going to have regulation, when it comes to stormwater, I could see a lot of folks very interested in having the commission take a look at projects outside of resource areas to talk about where that water is going. And that would be, in my mind, not what was in the bylaw. But the way this is worded, I could see that as being something that people could point to in our regs.
Yeah, no, we can look at that. Yeah. That's sort of what came up with Lake Wyola a little bit is that, in the end, the stormwater situation over there is a watershed-based problem. And the wetlands regulations don't do that. They don't, we look at specific projects. We look at a specific parcel and we look at a specific project. And the thing is, the stormwater stuff, if you look at the notice of intent application, single family homes are exempt from following stormwater regulation, under the state law. And, there's certain types of projects that are required under state law to follow the Massachusetts stormwater standards. And so really in Shutesbury, the majority of our projects are not even going to be required to do this stuff that's listed in this section. The library was like one of the first ones, I think, that probably came before the commission that had to actually meet this whole standard section. So,
and I'm all for managing stormwater. I'm not trying to dismiss the importance of. I mean, it's a real issue, obviously. My only concern is I don't think it's an issue best dealt with through the Wetland Protection Act and the bylaw, because I think oftentimes these are broader land use practices taking place. Some of them take place in resource areas, but many of them don't. But they do have impacts on the whole of the watershed. And to me, it's like a broader land use watershed planning issue. And so including 100%. It here just might make it more confusing, but
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take another look at this section to see if there's that kind of stuff in here that really goes beyond and may be interpreted the wrong way by people. Okay. All right, so that's it for me with stormwater. Resource area delineation. The only part of this where I had an issue, so again, it sort of starts off just saying that the delineations follow a lot of these state regulations and state guidance documents on how to delineate. Let's see, which is the one that I thought that I didn't agree with. I think it's 7.5. Yeah, so I thought that 7.5 was repeated in 7.7 very much. I thought they kind of repeated each other. See, where natural vegetation is absent because the presence of hydric soils shall provide positive determination of jurisdiction. Which then if you go down here, we've got where an area has been disturbed. In situations where natural vegetation have been destroyed, the commission may determine an area to be a wetland based on hydric soils alone. So this just seems to repeat itself.
The one above doesn't allow for the area to be regrown though, does it?
See, this one starts off with that the same statement that's kind of down there, that if the area's been disturbed,
But it doesn't have the final sentence that states that the commission can wait until the natural vegetation has regrown to see what the nature of the vegetation is.
right, I'm in favor of keeping 7.7, but getting rid of 7.5.
I would support that for the reason that what you stated, it's redundant, and it looks like 7.7 is more complete because it gives that extra option to the commission.
I agree.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay, then the rest of it seemed fine. I thought winter delineations seemed fine, and it's something we need in there. Let me see if there's a yeah, this was something I brought up with Miriam, and I think is pretty important. And we want to change is here. She's talking about the subsurface streams, and she refers to them as intermittent streams. And I feel like we definitely need to not call them intermittent streams, because intermittent streams have a very clear definition under the state regs, and you know, I think we need to just call them subsurface streams. So we need to go through like the definition section and everything and get rid of that. To me, intermittent, you've got perennial streams, you've got intermittent streams. It's always been that way. Now we're adding these fancy subsurface streams, and that's fine, but we can't call them intermittent streams. They need to have their own name. Subsurface streams.
Trying to remember where we got to in our other experts on that.
Yeah, I know. I can look back.
While we're thinking about that, I'm wondering how many of us on the commission are qualified to do resource area delineation.
I'm qualified for resource delineation in terms of BVW and IVW and streams, but I've never had to delineate a subsurface stream, and I don't think I could. Like, I still am confused really as to how we're doing that. Let's see, does it talk about that? Required by a professional hydrogeologist, a hydrogeologist. So that's kind of a different person in a way than the typical wetland scientist.
That was part of what we had asked them to work on, and how those would be delineated. So
I think
that's
there's
why I was
another
wondering
section.
what we got to.
I think section 4 talks more specifically about, I know it talks specifically about BVW delineation. I don't remember if it talks about subsurface, but I kind of hope so.
And we're talking subsurface not meaning a culvert or a pipe.
Right. We're
You have
talking
that?
about something that was just sort of recently added in is where, and this does happen in Shutesbury quite often, in the woods, there's a stream and then all of a sudden it disappears for a little while, say like 100 feet, and then it pops up again. And the idea is that instead of just considering that area when it's underground to not be a resource area because you can't see a stream channel, to include that as resource area.
Yeah, that is a very, very tough thing. And I've been in a fight similar to that where I had two bodies of water and you could actually hear water flowing underneath the ground. And right there, with the representative from DEP during this particular appeal, are like, we don't, DEP doesn't have any jurisdiction under because it is subsurface. It's not being held in the bank of a pipe. It is, it's a different animal measuring subsurface flow. So that is a very tough thing to wrap your hands around in a regulatory way.
Yeah. And I've said this from the beginning, right when this first came up, and I was just like, but I believe it is in our bylaw at this point, so we kind of have to try and make it more specific in these regulations how we're gonna deal with it. Because yeah, it's tricky. Maybe when we get to section 4, we can talk a little bit more about it. But yes, I agree. But anyway, just in terms of what we call it, it can't be called an intermittent stream.
Subsurface stream would kind of get us where we need to be.
Mm-hmm. I think so
Did
too.
we call it a subsurface stream in the bylaw?
Let me see.
Because it was called the subsurface stream in the original bylaw, right? Which is why
That's where it came from. Yeah, that's
what we were trying. I thought we tried to correct it in this last version of the bylaw.
Yeah. Just looking at the definitions in here from the bylaw.
Says any
subsurface-
freshwater wetland, marsh, wet meadow, vernal pool, spring bog, swamp, brook, creek, river, stream, including intermittent and perennial pond, lake, reservoir. Because I thought we took out the whole subsurface stream. Any adjoining land, blah, blah, blah. I don't, at least in the beginning, in section 2 for jurisdiction. And I thought that's where it was.
That would be so great if we took it out.
I thought we did because we had a hard time getting to somewhere where with our experts in terms of all the questions that are coming up, like how you would actually define that and delineate that. But
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at the bylaw and trying to see if Well, that's yet another thing to research a little bit and see. If it's, because even, I don't want to waste everybody's time, but even freshwater wetland definition in the bylaw is wet meadows, marshes, swamps, bogs, hillsides, seeps, springs, vernal pools. So it's BVW, IVW, interesting. Yeah, I'll look into it. Okay, moving on. So much to figure out.
I did a quick skim of it and I didn't see it in there again.
Yeah. You know, if we, well, let's just go back. Do you guys want to dive into this right now, or should we just keep moving ahead because it's getting kind of late? I was thinking of looking at the definitions in the regulations and seeing like what it says for stream and that kind of thing, but I can do that. I'll look into it and see where we're at with that. Okay. Wildlife habitat. Again, I'm wondering about the presumptions. Oh yeah, this is Scott's section. He's all
Right.
about the wildlife. Do we need a presumption, Scott?
I don't think that, I don't think presumptions add anything to the regs. So again, it's very similar to the other comments we've made, although wildlife presumptions are arguably the coolest presumptions.
Of course. much cooler than stormwater. So say we were to take that out, then again, wildlife habitat section would start right here with the commission accepts and adopts the definitions, requirements, and performance standards for wildlife, again, in the state regs. Oops. And then it talks about estimated habitat with natural heritage. Well, that's important. Yeah, and then that's it. It's kind of a short section, wildlife habitat.
And, you know, I do think the, what you said though about the presumptions as being repetitive. So anyways, I think it was the other piece too, when you scroll, let's see, where 8.2, where it talks about same definitions, and you know, I don't know if we need to repeat that. I do, you know, where they're talking about sending the application to Heritage. I think the presumption is here is that when the project is jurisdictional to the commission and within those wildlife habitats that we would be copied. And so I don't know if that's worth clarifying, because those areas extend outside of resource areas too. But
you mean for us to get notified, or for?
I think what it's saying is, How did it read? It said, blah, blah, blah. Such a copy shall be sent by the date of filing the application with the commission.
This is saying if somebody's submitting a notice of intent, so they're already within our jurisdiction somehow if they're submitting a notice. And that if they're also mapped for natural heritage, you know, part of that notice of intent application says that.
Okay, I
they
missed
need
the
to
whole
send a
notice
copy.
of intent part.
So there, like such a copy shall be sent to natural heritage by the date of the filing with the commission. So if you're filing with the commission same time, you know, same date, you want to send it to natural heritage.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. I missed the notice of intent part of 8.22.
Okay. So then we have to give special attention. It's all good. Okay. Septic system. You good? You good with the wildlife? Everybody good with the wildlife? Okay. Septic systems, once again, not so sure we need a preamble. It talks about Title V as being something that the Board of Health does. So if we just got rid of sort of this general conversation about, yeah, that septic systems can affect resource areas, and we just got to kind of what we expect of applicants, which is here. If an applicant seeks authorization for new construction or expansion, let's see, replacement of existing system located within the outer 50 of the aura, and it receives Board of Health approval, the commission shall presume that the design requirements for the effluent, so it meets requirements for effluent, and they only need to look at construction phase impacts. And then the next one, I think, is if it's in the inner 50 and also receives Board of Health approval, you can presume the same thing, and then it says, however, this presumption of no adverse impact on the values may be overcome by credible evidence from a competent source and such, blah, blah. So that seems like the right thing to be saying.
Wait a minute. What does that last line mean?
I think it's saying, so similar to the outer 50, if it's in the inner 50 and it has the Board of Health approval, we can assume that the system, the way it functions, won't impact resource areas, and we should just really review construction impact, which is what that says too. And then they're trying to say that if it's in the inner 50 and for some reason, someone, maybe a neighbor or somebody, hires, say, a septic engineer to look at the system, it says the presumption of no impact from that system can be overcome by credible evidence from a competent source. To me, a competent source would be like a septic engineer, somebody who designs those systems, that it actually might impact. So if it is in the inner 50 and somebody, not us, I mean, I wouldn't think we would want to do that, take that extra look, but you never know who might want to look at a septic system because they feel like it might impact the resource area if it's in the inner 50.
Okay, so somebody could challenge it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I guess because this is in here means that we as a commission would need to really look at that competent source information and we could actually overcome that. So it makes sense to me. And then, oops, what's this last thing? The commission shall presume that a new construction and expansion. Yep. That's fine. Uh, do we want to tackle docks, piers and floats tonight?
I was looking ahead going, I don't know.
Jan had actually gone through this and kind of rewrote a whole thing, which I think we all might want to take a good look at and think about how we want to attack this one, because this whole section is new since what we passed, you know, it's not in our current regulations. So maybe,
Did she-
can we wait till the next meeting for this one?
Did
I make a
Jan-
motion.
Has Jan shared that? I'm sorry, maybe I missed that part. The rewrite?
I flipped it only to Beth to see if I was nuts.
I don't think you're nuts. I
mean,
think,
I'd love to take a look at what you wrote, Jan, and maybe we could do that and then come back and talk.
It could also just be deleted. What I wrote was my second choice.
Jan, would you mind just kind of give a summary of where you kind of went with it?
Well, it's a pretty big bite, the docks, piers and floats. And there was a lot missing. So pretty nearly every home on the lake that has a dock that was built before 1965 is grandfathered in. Anything that came from 1965 to 1984, basically they have to write a note to the teacher. And that's it. And then anything after that requires the dock license. But then you get into some more details because it's a great pond. You're supposed to be able to walk all the way around the perimeter of the great pond, which, as you know, you can't do. And it adds all kind of extra superstructure to the docks if you're going to provide steps for people to wade up to your thing. You know, it just seems like a liability nightmare. And I'm not sure they really meant Lake Wyola when they wrote the rules. But I can send you what I wrote because I was trying to just put it in English and get rid of a lot of the stuff. I'm just not convinced that there's a big wetland threat from the docks or, you know, to the wildlife personally.
And was
yeah, I
this
think it's definitely a section we need to kind of think about and go through.
what,
And that would be great if you could send it, Jan, and I don't remember exactly what you said, but if there's info in there about like those years, and sort of the current situation for people who are grandfathered and all that, that's important to put in,
That was really important, I thought, and really absent from this write-up.
right? It is, definitely.
and that
and
source
I don't know,
document, Jan, was the Article 91 stuff?
Article 91, tell me what I'm talking about.
No, I'm sorry. You were reviewing something, and you made changes to it. What was it that you were reviewing?
Oh, I looked through, she makes references to the waterways program and to there is actually a whole dock section. I just followed her, I just followed the stuff that she's directing us to in this write-up.
Yeah, the Waterways Program, MGL Chapter 91. Yeah, that is some weighty stuff for sure. And the rules date back to the early days of the United States where somebody had to have the access to the shore to go fowling and fishing. And yeah, it's tricky. It is, and it's deep. Definitely. I totally get that. It's not an easy one.
It kind of doesn't fit on a lake that has been enlarged and flooded out to its maximum perimeter.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, yeah, Jan, if you wouldn't mind sending
I'll do that. If
around.
we want to, yeah, if we want to put this off till next time, I'll flip that out to everybody.
Yeah, I think this is a good one to start with next time. We can focus a little bit on it.
Okay.
And see if it should just be deleted. Just kidding. All right, and I
kinda
think
wa-
that's the end of section of Article 3, right? It is. So maybe next time we'll do the docks piers section and we'll look at Article 4. Well, Article 4 is big. Standards for inland wetlands. How about Article 4? Banks. And freshwater wetlands. Maybe we can get through that next time.
That sounds good.
Okay. That's enough.
That's,
Docks and,
it's not overly ambitious. That's fine.
okay. Those two sections of Article 4. Great. All right. I think that's everything. So the next time we'll see some folks as the site visit on August 1st. Bob, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I apologize. I wanted to bring up something that I talked to a few people about, and that is having a conservation sponsored fall hike. And I kind of wanted to just see what the enthusiasm level might be of that. It would be like a community outreach, kind of a nature walk, and talk about different conservation issues.
I would love that.
Great. So let's think about good areas of Shutesbury conservation land that we might want to consider, or even not, in a different place where we could talk about different things, and maybe on our site visit we could come up with some ideas.
Yeah. There's always Ames Pond, which has all its new boardwalks and everything.
That's a neat spot.
It is. I think if we like, are you thinking of offering this up to the public? Sort
Yeah,
of
well, absolutely.
advertising
Yeah,
it?
kind of a public relations, let people know what conservation is and does, and maybe hand out a little leaflet on what, the Conservation Commission's duties and services, etc.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking Ames Pond would be great for that because it's in Shutesbury. It's beautiful. It's got all these new boardwalks that some residents may not have had a chance to see yet. So if we said that was where it is, it might like attract residents to come.
Super. I like that.
Parking is a little
Hmm.
tough there, but the other thought is, Southbrook, our own conservation area. Not great parking for that either, but at the town beach, there's a way to get on and hike back there, and it's a little bigger parking spot. But yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
talk
true.
about it.
Because we actually own South Beach.
We could talk about docks while we're there.
Great. Let's make it a walk around the lake perimeter.
That's a good idea. A great pond walk, and we'll just see how well it's into the regs.
Oh, that would be pretty funny. All right, well, that sounds good. We can talk about potential dates down the road.
Right.
All right.
Madam Chair, would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
I would, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right. Douglas,
Aye.
Con,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Carrie, for
Thanks,
hanging
fellow
out. I don't know
commissioners.
what happened to Doc.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened either, but we'll see.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I'll
Good night.
keep in touch, Carrie, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.